Oklahoma is home to one of the leading digital fantasy artists. His name is Alain Viesca, and he is a successful fixture at the world's top event for all things fantasy and sci-fi, San Diego Comic-Con, and he was recently featured in Gallery.
On a quiet street in a quiet neighborhood in South Oklahoma City lives a quiet man who just so happens to be one of the more successful digital fantasy artists in the nation.
Fantasy is, the fantastical, the mythical, the magical. I think the most straightforward answer would be, like castles and knights and dragons and wizards and all that kind of stuff, but fantasy could be anything fantastical.
The fantastical realm of Alain Viesca is a crowded one, and it's all in his head. Mechanical creatures, dragons, fair maidens, witches, and knights all clamor for artistic release.
This is the Scorpion, and I put in like a car engine sort of thing with the mufflers sticking out.
You have the Warrior King, the lion which represents nobility. Here you have a kind of a great grand city in the background. This was called Moon Milk, and so I wanted to do something that was kind of cute. This is a pretty good example of something that starts out as a sketch. This was done in paper, and then I brought it in, and you can see the darker lines were the digital lines over the gray pencil lines. The dragon started out as a 3D model, and when I made it, even the claws were built to be fully articulated. You have really good ideas, but you only live so long, you only get so many really good ideas. And at least that's the way I look at it. So it hasn't been a problem yet.
What is a problem is time.
I don't have the luxury of doing what I want, because that doesn't always pay the bills. The things that I want to do are usually too big, and it requires a considerable amount of time. And that time means that you're not making money. You could be. You gotta pay the mortgage, you gotta pay the bills.
When times get lean, all artists feel the financial pinch.
The arts are a luxury for a lot of people. And one of the first things to go when your budget is tight is luxuries.
But for digital fantasy artists, especially those with families to support, a sketchy economy can be a real nightmare.
The art industry is difficult enough as it is, and then you step into a field like fantasy illustration, where even if you're a magnificent artist, somebody off the street can look at it and say, oh, it's an artist, but there's a dragon in it or a unicorn in it, and so in their eyes it's less, I think the context of it becomes lessened, regardless of the skill that went into it. And I think that maybe it's because of the way we see mythology and stories and the fantastical. It's considered something that may be relegated to children or people who don't have their feet on the ground.
Every year in the United States, millions who don't have their feet on the ground attend a host of comic conventions. Alain is a fixture at the larger shows.
At most moderate-sized conventions where you have a few hundred artists, I think I'm being generous here to think that out of 3, 4, 5, or 600 artists, you might have a couple dozen that were profitable, and less than that, consider less than that, that made enough money to say, I'm going home and I'm going to take this and I'm paying the rent and I'm getting the car and my insurance and everything paid off, and I'm good for the rest of the month, or 2 or 3 months. That's not very many of us. That might have been more so the case when the economy was better.
Alain is one of those 24, but at the granddaddy of all comic conventions, San Diego Comic-Con, success isn't measured in money.
You go there to exhibit your work, to be seen, and to talk to publishers, companies for concept artwork and production and design and all that good stuff. You can get some great contracts for book covers and product design and all sorts of different things. But if you break even at San Diego Comic-Con in an exhibitor's booth, you're doing really well.